Hi, this is Natasha with soldbynat.com, and I'm an associate broker with Virtual Properties Realty in Georgia. Today, I have some special guests with us from Dream America. We have Chris, Kemp, and Don here, and I'm going to let them formally introduce themselves, but I just want to share why I'm so excited to have them on today. Now, I have been following Dream America for a while, and several months ago, I did a video about lease purchase programs. And I mentioned Dream America, but I was sure to mention that Dream America has a different kind of product. Their goal is not to be a landlord. So one, I wanted to have them on today to, tell us more about their program. And then also two, with what's going on with the coronavirus and the mortgage institutions, the lending criteria is they're starting to tighten. A lot of people that were able to qualify aren't going to be able to qualify. And I see Dream America stepping in and helping a lot of people. So I wanted to get this resource out there. So that's why I'm super excited to have you guys on today. So I'm just going to turn it over to you guys, let you guys introduce yourself and tell us some more about Dream America.
Thanks, Natasha. This is Chris. In terms of I'm one of the managers here. In terms of my role, I principally work with the agents and clients once they've already been onboarded to Dream America on the home search process. So I get to do the fun part. And Kemp, how about you?
My part is also fun. Chris and I both, and Don as well. We love what we do and wake up every day with the notion in mind that we get to help people, which is really how we approach things. As you know, Natasha, the program was created to help those with good income and the savings necessary, but have an obstacle in the way. So I get to deal with, which is what Chris made mention of, dealing with those obstacles, which sometimes they're a small amount of things, and sometimes we need to dig deeper and make sure that we get visibility into a mortgage. So my responsibility is basically onboarding. I spend most of my day talking to clients and their realtors, looking at what their hurdles are to getting a mortgage and trying to identify a game plan with them. The next step is to receive their documents, and we do a full financial review process, the same as any lender would do. Same basic documents to work on getting them mortgage ready. Once we have completed that, we onboard them with an approval amount. They go out with their realtor, find the home that they want to select, and then we purchase it, lease it back to them until they are mortgage ready. Once they're mortgage ready, they get their mortgage, break the lease with us, no fee to do so, and move on with their lives.
Don's one of our client service associates, so good chance that if you call the office, you'll be speaking to Don or somebody else there. Also, if you go in the chat on our website, he's usually there Monday to Friday, 9 to 6. So, and he helps both Kemp and I with everything across the board.
You're the man behind the scenes, Don.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. You got the mustache going there for the shut-in. I
haven't been able to shave since the quarantine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just like what Chris and Kemp mentioned, I help out, answer calls, basically general questions, general inquiries. Plus, I get calls confirming if we have received their application, and essentially everything at face value. I help out Kemp a little bit. I help out Chris a little bit, and it's also I help out agents who needs who has access issue when it comes to the portal. So that's basically my roles and responsibility.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I do want to say, I was surprised, I had some clients apply and Kemp called me. I'm like, oh, wow. Kemp called me and to work it out. And I was like, I really appreciated that, to get it squared out and explain. And so that was really, really helpful. So I can attest that, Kemp is working.
Yeah, that's one of the things that, we thought was important from the beginning, is that, as great as the internet can be in terms of information and resources and all of that availability, and it's also awesome for us to be communicating here, the comfort of our own homes. But really, as much as our agents are our eyes and ears on the grounds and representing their clients, we wanted to make sure that we were available. I mean, we always tell between Don, myself, and the rest of our associates, and Chris as well, that as great as the internet can be, we want folks to know that they're humans behind the process. We are available. We work flexible schedules, but if someone reaches out and gets us through their 800 number, that we return calls. It's one of the first steps in the process too. Once we've kind of looked at the client profile and identified, we want to get to know them a little bit, because everyone's story is different, and that's very, very important to us. If someone's going to sit back and think that we can wave a magic wand and do all of the work, and they're just along for the ride, that's not how life is. And that's one of the things that we've found time and time again, that our clients and they're awesome from all different walks of life, that taking action, following the roadmap, that's the key to success. That being the case, we found that it's never really a matter of if they're going to get a mortgage. It's just a matter of timing and when. So that's why we like to be available. That's why we like to reach out.
All right, awesome. So to give those that are not familiar with Dream America, who's Dream America for? Who's your ideal client, or who can you help?
Yeah, our ideal client, Natasha, is somebody who's going to be ready for a mortgage over the course of a 12-month lease. So what we're doing, this is what Kemp is speaking to, we're looking at an underwriting process. It's very similar to what a lender is going to do. And for our clients, when I say a lender, that's typically going to be an FHA or VA mortgage. That's what 99% of our clients are getting, or they're usually not getting conventional financing. So we're going to look at that. We're not lenders, but we are familiar with the guidelines. We do know ultimately what the lenders are looking for. And we want to find somebody who we believe can qualify over the course of the next 12 months. And so the cornerstone of our underwriting is mathematical. What are your income? What are your other debt payment obligations? And then what does that leave over for housing? But then on top of that, once, beyond the numbers, what Kemp is speaking to, the one thing you can't underwrite with numbers is motivation. So we know the steps that people need to take, but as we always tell them, we can't force you to pay your bills on time each month. We can't stop you from going out and getting a new car. But these are all things that we can outline for you that may stand between you and getting a mortgage. But ultimately, once we come up with that plan, that roadmap, as we call it, right, it's really incumbent upon the clients to stick to it. And what we found when they do, the program works. I know you've seen some of our updates we send out. We had 4 families buy in December. We had 6 more in the first quarter. So you've got 10 families that have bought their home really in a matter of months. And they did that anywhere from 6 months to a year. We had a couple of people go over a year, but those were people who didn't exactly stick to the plan. So, we do give our clients the option to renew their lease for a second year if they need it. But I would say we discourage that. And this is one of the things that you mentioned at the beginning, what makes us different. We're not a traditional landlord. We're a home ownership program. The entire point of our program is to get somebody mortgage ready and get them to buy as quickly as possible. The longer they're staying in the program, the more money they're spending, which isn't what we want to see them do. And that makes us different than every other landlord who's happy if you pay the rent. Landlord's happy to lease to you year after year after year. But, I tell the clients going into this, if you're not serious about taking the steps to get there over the course of the next year, save your money, find the cheapest rental you can stand and buy in the future. Don't go into a multi-year lease purchase. I just don't think that's a good deal for most people.
And then as far as the areas that you guys are in, I'm in Georgia. What other states are you in?
Yeah, so we're in major metro areas in Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee. Atlanta Metro, though, is our key market, and that's and that's great. So we see a lot of interest there, but we're also in Tennessee and in Nashville and Memphis, and in Florida, Jacksonville, Tampa, Orlando. Really in thinking about the markets where we want to be available. One of the things that we cannot solve is home affordability. So what does that mean? It means we want to operate in markets where if you're earning a median income, you can buy a median price home. And, our clients may earn a little bit less than the median. They may earn a little bit more than the median, but there's certain markets where that's just not, that's not true. And that's not something we can solve. So we want to operate in an area where the likelihood that our client will be able to succeed and won't be stuck renting, but in fact will become a homeowner is high. Atlanta's a great market for that. You know, there's some great value in Atlanta. I don't have to tell you since you're an agent,
Right.
but you know, if you look, for example, at median price homes in Atlanta, let's say in 2012, they might have been in the low hundreds. Now they're in the low 200s. Well, in the low 200s, you can still buy a house in Atlanta for less than you could build it.
Mm-hmm.
Which to me, that's, you know, that's a great value. If you can buy a house for less than replacement cost, you know, despite the appreciation that's occurred. So I still think there's a lot of value, you know, in Atlanta and in the other markets that we're in. And that's part of the reason why, you know, we decided, whereas other companies are, you know, shutting down temporarily during this time period, or maybe pulling back and trying to get a much bigger, you know, discount on their purchases. We're going to continue to operate more or less as we've been operating before, because we still have clients that need to move, and we still do see good value, you know, in the marketplace. And certainly if they can get mortgage ready soon with some of the mortgage rates we've seen recently, you know, what a great time to buy a house.
I echo those same things. Yeah, people still need to move. I see a lot of these other programs are putting freezes on buying, or, you know, that's affecting people. And then also what's going on with the criteria for the loans. Credit scores are increasing. The minimum required credit scores are increasing. So I'm hearing some horror stories about that. So I see that, you know, Dream America being an option for those people, right? So if someone is going through a transaction, let's say, and they were previously approved, and now with the changes that have happened, now the lender's telling them something different, what should they do?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's a good point to touch on, which is, you know, traditionally we set up the program for those who weren't mortgage ready. Many times people realize that in the process that they are mortgage ready. And so when they are, that's obviously what we're trying to accomplish. So we either, you know, we use independent lenders that we have partnerships with, and we'll refer them to them, or sometimes our realtors have, you know, lending relationships. Our clients are free to go wherever they want once they're mortgage ready. That was what we set the program up for. The other offshoot of that was what we call deal saves. Someone comes in, they're pre-approved, they're pre-qualified, and then a last minute snag gets in the way and they can't get their mortgage. We're obviously a great resource for that person to use as a stepping stone. That's how things have been for us since we incepted. Interesting times with COVID is that, and there's a bit of a difference there in that, or a bit of a misunderstanding, which Chris and I were talking about it last night, which is that while we're not lenders, you know, FHA is the FHA and the VA guidelines are what they are. But what lenders do is they do overlays, meaning that above and beyond the basic qualifications, FHA 580 is the minimum FICO score, for example. During this time, many lenders, several big banks, I almost mentioned them, which I don't want to mention anyone by name, but many lenders have done overlays. So 580 is the FHA minimum. You go to a lender and they're like, I'm sorry, as you know, FHA has increased their minimum qualifications, whatever they may be, DTI, FHA. That's not true. The interesting experience is, or the interesting thing is, lenders, the FHA, if anything, during this time has made things easier. Easier for those that are on furlough once they come back off of furlough, proving their employment. So the FHA and the VA have tried to make things easier given what the country is going through with COVID. Many lenders have done overlays that have made things harder. Instead of a 580, we're at 640. I had a gal the other day that said she needed a 700 credit score, which just seems, you know, so during these times when many lenders are doing harder overlays, we're obviously a great solution to take people from point A and B during, you know, during that time.
So when they apply, like how long does it take for them to hear something back, provided they get you all of the necessary documents?
Absolutely. I should have Don comment on that because he and I have this struggle every day.
We get this question every day, Natasha, and the answer is a little bit misleading, because the answer is it's 24 to 48 hours. Why is it misleading? Because very, very few applicants submit their documents in a timely manner. So what'll happen, and this is something that Kemp and Don deal with every day, starting with the application. If you look at our application, we give the applicant the ability to upload their bank statement, 401k, or other proof of funds. 90% of the people don't do that. So guess what the first thing is that Don has to do? Chase after them for the proof of funds. Then we need the income documents. We will need if they're employed, a pay stub, a tax return. They'll start sending in documents one at a time, sort of dripping them in. So this is the same frustration that lenders have to deal with.
Yeah, you sound just like a lender.
And so the agents are like, hey, why isn't my client approved? And we're like, your client didn't submit the documents. And it's not that we're not a lender, but we don't want to take an incomplete document package, miss some important information, put somebody into a house, and then find out they can't afford that house. We didn't do them any favors then. People are putting down, option money towards that house that's at risk if they don't follow through and buy it. So we don't want to put anyone in that position. So we'll really dig to try to get all of the documents out of them. And once that happens, so the approvals that happen the fastest are the people who apply for a mortgage, get turned down, and they'd already submitted all their documents because they're probably organized. So they can usually turn around and give it to us. But most of our clients have not previously applied for a mortgage. So then this process winds up getting dragged out, which should be done in a day, gets dragged out over days or weeks.
Notice how I framed that question with, provided they give you all the documents, because I know that's.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's quick. And then, once approved, we do, typical closing is in 2 to 3 weeks. As Chris said, it is the documents being delayed. Clients with the most success are the ones that, even if they're first-time home buyers, they gather all the documents and send them to us in one place. If not, it's like our underwriters are constantly going in, attaching, looking at, and then, oh, here's another document, this is missing. And as Chris said, visibility, ultimately, if we don't have visibility, it puts the client at risk. So without all of the documents, and the ones that get through the fastest are in every circumstance, they send it all in one bundle. It's just the easiest way to.
Yeah. I did think of another one, the type of house. Like there's one program where they have a list of criteria that the house has to meet, plus other criteria that is not listed, and you just figure it out along the way. What's the criteria for the houses that you guys will accept?
Yeah, so we're looking for houses that have been built or renovated in the last 15 years. We're going to get an inspection on every home. We work with BPG, which I think is the largest employee-owned inspector, not just in Georgia, but in multiple states. We work with them in Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee. And then we always take that inspection report and we give it to our client. So it's not just Dream America deciding on their own, because again, we're not going to be the landlord for that long. So we really want our clients to think of themselves as owners from day one. Though they're not the owner day one, that's the mentality they need to go into this. They're making a buying decision when they join our program. It's not a try before you buy. We get that inspection done, and the inspection will list the estimated cost of repairing the items. So as Kemp mentioned, many of our clients are first-time home buyers. They've never seen an inspection report before, and you get this report and there's 20 things on it, and you're like, the house is terrible.
Right.
But because we have the, BPG puts in there for us the cost of repairs, that's a $25 item. That doesn't sound so intimidating. Oh, this is a $2,000 item. That sounds like a, area for major concern. So It really helps prioritize. We'll then go through that with the agent, with the client, and come up with requested repairs if it makes sense for the seller to do. Cancel the house if it, there's major, we had a house that had, needed a new roof. It had a recalled vinyl siding product on it. I mean, there's some serious issues with it that the seller didn't want to address. Our clients don't want to step into that. We're looking for homes that are in move-in condition, but we're not using, we don't have any secret criteria. We're not using the inspection as a way to try to grind the seller down on the price. We're trying to get a fair deal for, ultimately for our client.
I'm definitely going to include links in the description box to direct people to your website to get more information. You did mention, and I know I'm going to get this question, so I'll just go ahead and ask, what fees are involved? You mentioned an onboarding fee.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit about that.
Yeah, so there's no fee to apply. Anyone can apply. We charge a 1% onboarding fee. It's 1% of the home price. So $200,000 house is $2,000. And that's going to be due at the time that we go under contract on the home. So they're not paying it when they apply. They're not paying it, when they're starting sorry, I got a helicopter overhead here. They're not paying it in my backyard when they go out and start finding the home. But we tell everyone, you need to have your cash ready when you're going to start the home search, because as soon as you pick the home you want and we get an accepted offer, we're going to ask for the onboarding fee, which is 1%, and the option payment, which is 3%. We have a calculator on our website, so it's very easy to see what you need. You just go on there, type in the home price. It tells you exactly what cash you need up front. We've also put 2 other calculators on our website, which we encourage everyone to play around with. One is for rent. You put in home price, property tax, HOA, it'll give you an estimate for the rent. And then there's a budgeting calculator. You put in your income and your expenses, and it'll give you a budget that you should be spending on rent. So those are all things we ask people to look at and figure out what makes sense for them. We don't encourage our clients to go up to the max payment they could qualify for, because usually they're also going to need some money to maybe work on improving their credit. Maybe they got to pay down some credit cards, or other things that need to be done. So all of that we look at during the onboarding process. And the one other thing I want to mention, you asked about fees, but I want to mention on rents. I think this is a really important point. It's a subtle point versus some of the other companies. Most companies in the lease-to-own space and most landlords would do what I call neighborhood-based pricing, meaning if you get the worst house in the best neighborhood, you're going to pay more for that than a similarly priced house in a worse neighborhood, whatever that is. We don't do that. Because I think that makes it very confusing for the client to go out shopping. We say you're approved for a price, and if you're approved for a $250,000 house, the rent on a $250,000 house anywhere in Atlanta is going to be the same, and anywhere that we're active in Florida or Tennessee. The only adjustment is going to be for property tax and HOA. So that makes it easy for the client when they go out and actually go into the shopping to know what to expect, as opposed to, I found this house and then we said, oh no, well that house is a better neighborhood, so the rent's more. That's very frustrating for the agent and the client. So we just do a simple formula, it's static across all areas. And like I said, we encourage everyone, play with that calculator before you go out so you're happy with the monthly payment.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. And I appreciate that, because yes, that is very frustrating when you go out and you're working with someone and trying to find something and it keeps moving. Like, you can't look at one set price. You always have to keep checking. So I definitely do appreciate that.
Yep. And there is one thing that I wanted to mention along those lines too, that I don't know if we've mentioned it during this discussion or not, but we do give 10% of on-time rents paid back as a closing credit once the client closes. So in terms of fees and payments, as we said, we have a 1% onboarding fee. Really, in terms of fees and what you're paying the onboard fee. That's 1% of the home price, and you're paying rent. The other payment that we require in terms of the cash necessary is a payment that goes toward the down payment on your mortgage once you're mortgage qualified. And we also give 10% of on-time rents paid back as a closing credit, which I think is a great thing.
Okay. Just thought of this. Who is responsible for maintenance during this period?
Yeah, so the tenants are responsible for maintaining the home during the lease. This really comes down to, again, what we said, the ownership mentality. But we have many first-time homeowners. So what do? You're throwing someone into a house who's never maintained a home and say, hey, you got to take care of it. That may seem unfair. Well, as you know, what do most first-time homeowners do? They call the home warranty company. So we make sure that every house that we're getting comes with a warranty. We typically ask for American Home Shield warranty paid by the seller. And so that means that we're empowering the clients from day one to act as a homeowner. So it's not, hey, Chris or Kemp or Don, there's a leak under the sink. It's, there's a leak under the sink. I'm going to call the warranty company. They're going to dispatch somebody out to deal with that. And we've had a lot of success with that over the last couple of years. Obviously, if there's a major issue, like we had one situation where a neighbor's tree fell on the house, we're going to get involved. We're not going to tell the tenant, you got to go deal with those bigger problems yourself. We had hazard insurance on all the house. We're going to get involved there. But those routine homeowner items, the the broken appliance, the HVAC, the leak under the sink, the homeowner is going to be dealing with that, and they're going to be dealing with the home warranty company to take care of it.
Okay. I really like the word that you use, empowering them. You're empowering them to be homeowners and to have that mindset of home ownership going right into it. So yeah, that's how I see your program being different. It's a path to home ownership.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I have for you. Is there anything we haven't discussed that you want to share?
Yeah, so I've looked at this process. It sounds great. What do I do? I would, as I said, our team is always available to answer any questions that people may have. Part of our onboarding process is talking to everyone, because everyone has different needs and wants, and every individual is different. Having said that, we have tried to really be defined and transparent and simple in terms of what is the Dream America program. We have a 1-minute video overview, which is basically start to finish what Dream America is and how the program works. Also online, I think at times people are like, oh, well, wait a minute, I don't want to read all of these legal documents. Our frequently asked questions are not that. They're simple and straightforward. They're about 6 pages long. They answer most, if not all, of the questions that you may have, including, is it a good deal? So if I were to look at the process, I would watch the 1-minute video. I would look at the frequently asked questions. And then lastly, as much as, approval amount, part of it is, hey, how much does the bank say I can afford, and how much does Dream America potentially say that I can qualify for? One of the most important things in that is your personal budget. So I think that Chris said it before, we've made it very easy for the clients to look at the rental calculator. How much home can I afford? What are rents? And what is the cash needed? So between those 3 things, which is maybe a 15-minute process, you can determine, whether or not we're a great fit.
I appreciate you guys so much for doing this today. You guys, I asked, I took a shot. I was like, hey, I just want to get this information out. Asked, you guys were really receptive, hopped on this today. I really appreciate it. I hope this clarified some information for people. I will definitely have links to everything that we talked about in the description box below. Please feel free to reach out, get your questions answered. Dream America, a path to home ownership, and our mission, we're all aligned. We want to help more people become homeowners. So yes, thank you guys for watching. Thank you all for being here today, sharing all of this information. Please go ahead and like this video, give it a thumbs up, go ahead and leave us some questions, and stay tuned for the next video. Have a positive, peaceful, and productive day. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Natasha.
Thank you.
Natasha,
Right,
thanks.
bye-bye.